In fact, after coming out of the orphanage, Lin Ke felt a little tired, but he still came to the office to process a few final files and sent them to the private mailboxes of several partners before taking a long breath and leaning softly on the luxurious leather seat, staring blankly at the huge white wall opposite the desk, like a puddle of mud. He was an orphan, but now he is one of the most successful entrepreneurs in T-City. No one knows how many ups and downs he has experienced in his more than 30 years of life. They only know that this young and wealthy businessman has never had a wife, but he is keen on doing odd jobs in the orphanage he built. People close to him know that he likes the children in the orphanage. He has no children, he has many children. There were many rumors about him in the outside world, but he ignored them. This perfect strong man in the eyes of almost everyone would only become completely quiet when he was alone, savoring his own weakness and loneliness alone, but it seemed to be more frequent recently. He gently opened the drawer and took out a simple card, slowly wrote the words, "Let the children be happy forever," smiled slightly, then slowly raised his left hand to support his cheek and fell asleep. However, he never woke up from this sleep. Just one day later, the news that an orphan entrepreneur in T-City died of exhaustion in the office filled every corner of the internet. Whether it was admiration, regret, or ridicule, after seeing that this man named Lin Ke spent huge sums of money to build 3 large orphan buildings in 5 years, many of them were speechless when they learned that this busy man who had been terminally ill for many years never missed the weekly interactive classes in the 3 major orphanages and used all his assets to establish the Caring for Orphans Foundation. Before his death, in this world, there are not many people who can have some pure dreams. As time goes by, except for the children who cried in tears in the orphanage who will not forget the thin but tall and lively Father Lin Ke, who can remember what kind of existence this man who flashed into the world like a flash in the pan was like. Lin Ke only felt dim and couldn't see anything clearly. He heard some vague sounds in the dimness. He felt that he might have been sent to the hospital and was being rescued, but the time was a bit long and he was a little bored. He began to miss the children in the orphanage. They were simple and happy. This happiness made him happy. He felt that he could obviously do more and better for them, so he should not end up here in a hurry. No one knew better than him how this society would treat those children who had lost their support. He was worried about those people. Thinking of this, he felt that he needed to get rid of some tired and painful negative emotions and should have more desire for life. So he did just that. He prayed to all the gods he could think of because he was not sure which god would be free to listen to his request, so he made many pious vows to different gods according to his guesses. After a long time, after all this was over, he began to wait quietly. He didn't know why he could be so calm when facing death at this moment. I don't know how much time passed. Suddenly, it was dawn. Cohen rolled on the ground repeatedly, suffering from abdominal pain but unable to scream. He felt scared, helpless, and deeply sad. His eyes swept across the soup on the table as if he had been stung, and then moved away like lightning. At the age of 14, he still couldn't figure out why his cousin poisoned him, but he was sure that the problem did come from the bowl of soup. Even though he was born in a big family where brothers were not very harmonious, and he had heard many stories about brothers turning against each other, he never thought that one day he would die at the hands of his closest brothers. He began to vomit blood, and the blood spread over his lips and rushed to his chest, drawing a bright pattern on his snow-white robe. The headache was so painful that Cohen almost wanted to kill himself. He was resentful. He hated why the poison was so torturous and not pleasant at all. He himself was a little surprised that he could be distracted at this time. He is often distracted. When eating or even practicing, he will let go of his thoughts and think of all kinds of things. Such rich imagination will make him feel happy. He lacks happiness, but today his world has come to an end. Still no one heard him outside the house. Where did Ellie go? It was only then that he realized that he didn't know enough about Ellie, who had been following him. He regretted it a little, but it was too late. His consciousness began to blur, and then everything disappeared. Lin Ke was also struggling painfully. He felt a strong attraction coming from the place where the light hit, which made him unable to resist. But damn, this attraction was like a saw blade pulling on Lin Ke's most sensitive nerve. It felt so hateful. After an unknown amount of time, just when Lin Ke's endurance had almost reached its limit, everything calmed down and he felt his body again, which made him ecstatic. People who have never died can never understand the horror of death, and he felt that he was a person who had died once. But he couldn't open his eyes. His present situation was so strange that he could not explain it but attributed it to the process of dying. It was as if he was in a movie theater and was forced to watch a movie played in fast forward. All kinds of strange and incredible pictures appeared in front of his eyes. It felt as if he had become the protagonist of the story, experiencing a fantasy movie immersively through his own eyes. He began to toddle and talk. He was warmly held in the arms of a beautiful woman and rocked to sleep. He was asked to call him Dad when he saw a tall and heroic man for the first time. He was guided by a dignified but kind middle-aged man. For the first time, he saw a ferocious creature named Dragon in a book. For the first time, he released an invisible force during chanting and shot into the wall of the bedroom to form a mark with special meaning. He played happily with a cute little girl called Sister. All this fascinates Lin Ke. Although he knows that this may be an extremely real virtual movie, when he wakes up and opens his eyes, the cold world of reinforced concrete is still waiting for him, but he still cannot help but love this feeling, the joy of him, and what is even more inescapable is the sense of belonging and security brought to him by those tall figures. And something warm called Star. It is a wonderful thing that cannot be described in any words, something that even the poorest person can easily get, but he just doesn't have it. At the same time, in a place that Lin Ke could not see or understand, his consciousness was wrapped in a floating soul cloud. A strange blank soul was integrating into his soul cloud one by one. The cloud was slowly but surely expanding and solidifying like a gluttonous fat man. I don't know how much time passed until Lin Ke felt that he might be the real Cohen, a little boy living in a fantasy world who might have the ability to move mountains and reclaim seas in the future instead of Lin Ke, a mortal on Earth. He suddenly opened his eyes. What he saw in front of him filled him with deep fear and complicated surprise. Because he was sitting on the ground, when he lowered his head, he saw a shocking pool of blood on his snow-white robe. The story he saw was not a story. But that scene was really not like the events he had really experienced. Everything at the moment was like a dream, but the strange yet familiar room, the strange yet familiar body made people. At the same time, the place called Earth that should have been extremely familiar gradually became distant and became more like a real dream. Just when Lin Ke was still immersed in his own thoughts, the screams of two girls came to his ears. Lin Ke quickly came back to his senses. In an instant, he understood the current situation by combining the memory of Cohen he had just seen with the scene in the house. Even in this magical world, resurrection from the dead is really not a result that can be explained, not to mention that he himself is not sure whether he is the original Cohen. Take it as it comes, Lin Ke warned himself, no matter what happened, the first thing to do is to cope with the situation in front of him. Master Cohen, what's wrong with you? A little girl in servant clothes rushed to Lin Ke and knelt on the ground and asked anxiously. A pair of small white hands were waving helplessly in the air. Tears were already rolling in her eyes. The scene in front of her was really more terrifying than the most terrifying scene in her sleep. Lin Ke remembered her name was Ellie, a 26-year-old girl who was bought and trained by her family as a maid to take care of her own life. This type of maid was very common in larger families in the empire. Most of them came from poor civilian families who were unable to raise too many children, or were simply abandoned orphans, and Ellie belonged to the latter. Lin Ke saw the uneasiness that could not be concealed on her young face, and his heart softened. He raised his hand and stroked her chestnut hair and said, "It's okay, Ellie. It's just a small problem with practice. It's not a problem at all." As he spoke, he glanced towards the door without leaving a trace. The other girl had already turned around and ran away, probably to inform the rest of the family. Lin couldn't have time to see her face clearly, but he figured someone would get here soon, and he only needed a little time. "Help me up." Lin Ke stretched out his left hand towards the little girl Ellie. Ellie hurriedly hugged his arms, but felt her arms heavy. Young Master Cohen stumbled. Fortunately, he put his right hand on the table to avoid falling again. However, he accidentally knocked over the soup bowl on the table, and the soup spilled all over the floor. "Master Cohen," Ellie exclaimed. "It's okay. Just help me sit on the bed for a while. Grandpa should be here soon." Lin Ke never knew that he could perform so naturally. He only felt a little awkward when he shouted the word Grandpa, but Ellie, who was obviously in shock, did not notice this. She was still worried about whether she would be punished by the head of the family and his wife. Sure enough, as soon as Lin Ke sat down, the majestic middle-aged man he had seen in Cohen's memory appeared in front of him like a ghost, looking at him with worry. This phenomenon that was difficult to explain scientifically still made Lin Ke a little uneasy. When did the middle-aged man enter the room, and how did he approach the bed? Lin Ke had no idea at all. But for no reason, the pure worry in the middle-aged man's eyes suddenly calmed him down. It was this feeling that he found again. He stared blankly at the middle-aged man, with dark golden hair, resolute face, and deep blue eyes, like a lion. "How do you feel? What happened?" The middle-aged man quickly grabbed one of Lin Ke's arms and asked. Lin Ke only felt a warm force circulating in his body. When it passed through his abdomen, he felt a slight pain and frowned. The middle-aged man stared at Lin Ke and looked at his abdomen. "It shouldn't be a big problem. Don't worry. Maybe you have a bad stomach. Ask a doctor to come over and take a look. It should be fine." Lin Ke stared at the middle-aged man in front of him with caring eyes and said, "Seriously, Grandpa, confession, I just want to create a colorful different world and let the protagonist take everyone there to see the beautiful and elegant elves, the powerful and proud dragons, the savage and poor orcs, the cruel and warlike murlocs, and of course, the dominant characters on the continent. Humans, magicians, knights, followers, beauties, heroes, race wars, national wars, business wars. When everything comes together, how can there be a lack of happiness? This is my original intention." Chapter 2: The Mutters Family. The middle-aged man is Ryan Neuters, the head of the Mutters family where Cohen belongs. He is 105 years old this year. Even the oldest person on Earth is already gray-haired at this age. However, Ryan, who has the strength of dragon power, has a lifespan of up to an astonishing 300 years. Although he was already older when he entered dragon power, this still gives him the appearance of a middle-aged man and the body of a young man. Ryan glanced at Lin Ke again in confusion, then turned his gaze to the already dry soup on the ground, frowning slightly. "I have already sent someone to invite the best doctor in Windy City. Your internal organs are somewhat damaged, but it will not affect your future cultivation. Don't worry about competing for a place in the Aries Academy entrance exam. The original place in your family was prepared for you. Get more rest, recuperate your body, and don't let the adults worry." He paused and said, "As for your mother, please advise. You don't have to write to your father about all this kind of thing. He is already under a lot of pressure in the army. Don't let him be distracted too much. When you grow up, you should know that the consequences of distraction there will be serious. The family can no longer bear the blow of the second generation dying in war." Lin Ke nodded thoughtfully. Cohen's Mutters family is the 7th largest emerging family in the Windy City, but this is all thanks to Cohen's grandfather Ryan. Ryan was born in a very ordinary civilian family in Windy City. He left home to join the army at the age of 17. With his passion and extraordinary talent, he managed to inspire fighting spirit in the army and became a noble professional. Since then, he has been out of control, working on the front line. After fighting for decades, not only did he not die in battle, but he also rose through the hardships of life and death and finally achieved the powerful strength of the Dragon Power Realm. He was promoted as a legendary hero by his legion as an inspirational model for civilians, and he had a high reputation in the army. Finally, after the new emperor ascended the throne 15 years ago, he entered the list of the first batch of powerful military figures who were promoted by virtue of military merit and returned to their hometowns to garrison in the local area prepared by the new emperor. He became the third figure among the new military elite in Windy City. The originally ordinary Mutes family suddenly became the seventh large family in Windy City and was at the forefront of the storm for a while. Originally, the story of all this was far away from Cohen. In Cohen's memory, everything about the family seemed so natural. The only thing he had to do was to practice and practice again and again until one day he became a strong man in the dragon power realm like his grandfather and protected his father, mother, and family. Kalinko is different. Lin Ke became worried when he recalled Cohen's memories of his family. Of course, it is not enough for a large and emerging family to just rely on a top strong man. Even if the strong man can suppress one party, the same is true. The key lies in the lack of foundation. The rise of the Muters family was too fast. It was too fast for the second and third generations of descendants to keep up with Rhine. It was too fast for the family to accumulate enough foundation. It even lacked a reasonable family structure in the face of the sudden increase in interests. This is like a child holding gold in his left hand and a knife in the right. Even if the knife is extremely sharp, how can it frighten the adults who keep an eye on the gold? Especially when there are so many people eyeing gold. What's more, the Mutis family has a more serious weakness, which is that the mortality rate of a second generation is too high, causing a huge inheritance gap. Rhine had 8 sons, all of whom followed Rhine's example and joined the army when they reached adulthood. 3 of them died in battle at an early age. 3 of the remaining 5 had extraordinary talents and successfully inspired energy to become professionals. Everything was originally going in a good direction, but in the latest large-scale battle between the Empire and the Dragon Clan 6 years ago, except for Cohen's father Jason, all the other 4 brothers died. This was an even heavier blow to the already struggling family. Fortunately, Jason's powerful ability to reach the high level of the Julie realm in the first battle was recognized by the military, and he was promoted to an influential senior officer at the front. Otherwise, whether the Mutis family could continue to maintain the reputation of a large family would have been a problem. Okay, Cohen, your mother is here. I have to leave. Lane stood up and took a deep look at Lin Ke again, gently stroked his golden hair a few times and said, "You can't rush your cultivation. You're still so young. Don't worry, you still have a lot of time." Lin Ke's nose became sour. He understood better than Cohen what time meant to this family, and he could better imagine how much this old man who alone protected the family had to endure. He felt that there was a strange connection between himself and the old man in front of him. He felt that it was family affection. "Father, how is Cohen?" A young woman who had hurriedly abandoned all elegance, but was still beautiful met Ryan at the door of the courtyard. She ignored the extra etiquette and started asking, with a look of panic on her face. "It's nothing serious. It should be that the energy explosion caused by the urgent practice injured the organs, but I've seen it and it's not a big problem." Ryan was a little relieved. This was the first time she took the initiative to talk to herself since she refused her to let Jason retire. "I have already asked someone to call a doctor." "Don't worry too much," he hesitated. He then continued, "In 10 days, there will be an open test for the Ares Academy in Windy City. Don't let Cohen practice during this period. It is already difficult for us to beat the other 6 families in the competition for those 3 places. It doesn't matter if we miss 1 place. The family's original place will be reserved for Cohen." "Thank you, Father, for your concern for Cohen." The young woman's anxious expression softened a lot, and she gently bent down and saluted Ryan. Ryan frowned slightly, then sighed. "Selena, I won't say more about Jason. The family is in a difficult period." Ryan paused with a serious look on his face. "I will write a letter asking him to come back. As for whether to return to serve in the army, the family will respect his personal wishes." The young woman named Serena was startled and saluted again. Kohen is the hope of the family, Ryan said firmly. You are also a professional and you should know the difference between a spellcaster and a fighter. Ryan's mood was slightly agitated. There has never been a spellcaster of any attribute in the family before him. A grown-up spellcaster is enough for a family to enjoy hundreds of years of peace. Serena, I know that every mother hopes that her son can be simple forever. Living happily in this world, enjoying all the beautiful things with ease, Ryan turned around and stared into Serena's eyes. But being born in this family and enjoying all the things that commoners cannot get is not a bad luck. He had to choose to fight for this family to protect everything he wanted to maintain and protect, and to do this, he needed more powerful strength. Just today, I felt a strange wind energy fluctuation in the direction of Kohen's bedroom. You know, I always pay attention to his progress from time to time. A weak but continuous wind energy was injected into his room. This may be the cause of his condition. Although I was annoyed that he was practicing crazy regardless of his own body, I was also pleased that he began to think about his family, even if the academy place is not that important to us. Serena, he grew up. The young woman was a little distracted, perhaps in her eyes. Kohen was still the little boy who ran into her arms and acted coquettishly. Yes, he has grown up and will go to the imperial capital to study alone in half a year, the young woman said sadly. No, he won't be alone. Ryan's face looked slightly gloomy. This incident has reminded us. He thought of the bowl of soup. Kohen, who had received a good education in aristocratic etiquette, did not have the habit of eating in the bedroom. The family cannot afford to lose Jason again. Likewise, it has become as the most outstanding representative of the third generation, we cannot allow any accidents to happen to him. I think he needs some loyal companions and an elder who can take care of him at any time. Ryan raised his head and looked at Serena, seeming to seek her opinion. I plan to let the 7th child go to Kohen. Uncle's 7th? Serena hesitated, but finally expressed her worries. No one doubts Uncle 7's strength, but Uncle 7th has a somewhat different temperament. Should I let Uncle 3 or Uncle 4? Ryan showed a smile for the first time. No, Serena, you don't understand Lao Chi. Among those old guys, he is the one who has always liked Kohen the most since he was born. It's just that he is not good at expressing. Don't worry, he will take good care of him. You go and see him. I'll leave first. Behind Ryan's calmly leaving figure, Serena silently saluted. Linka looked at the young woman sitting next to the bed. She had stunning long blonde hair, clear light blue eyes like Kohen, well-maintained skin that was smooth and delicate, and small, full lips under the tall bridge of her nose, which made her look even more charming. She was graceful, natural and generous, warm and loving, which fit all Linka's fantasies of a perfect mother, and the unconcealed care in her eyes made him feel even more warm. He looked at her a little stunned. What's wrong, son? The young woman stroked Linka's cheek distressfully. The latter's face looked a little pale. Does it still hurt? Linka shook his head. He thought that the young woman always cared about Kohen, who may have died. He was just his replacement, but he wanted to be her son. No, Mom, Dr. Karma just said that there is nothing wrong with me. I will fully recover as long as I rest for a few days. You know, I can still be as active and lively as before. Nothing is different. Promise me not to practice any more during this period. The young woman was a little worried. You're already good enough. My son, you're the best in the entire family, and even in the entire Windy City. Forget about the damn academy quotas. You know, 7 of the original 10 quotas in Windy City were divided by 7 major families. Our Mute's family, the family, already has a quota, and this quota will belong to you. As for the remaining 3 public evaluations for the whole city, it is just a pretense. No one among the common people can get it, and it is difficult for our family to compete with the other 6. It is not your fault. You're just too young. I know everything, Mom. Don't worry, I won't do anything stupid to make you worry again. Linka looked solemn, looking like he was about to swear, and he really couldn't be more serious. I have already thought about it. After I feel better in 2 days, I will go hunting with Daisy in Arashima, catch a few wind rabbits, and come back to decorate your small garden. There must be some living creatures to be more lively. Besides, I haven't left the Windy City for a long time. Our little Cohen has grown up. The young woman's eyes were a little complicated, as if she was happy and reluctant to let go, which made it difficult for Lin Ke to understand. It's okay to go out for a walk, but you need to bring more guards this time. Although Lanshan is not far from Fengcheng, it is not close either. The current situation of the family is not appropriate. It is always good to be careful. I let Shuer stay with you, and I can take care of your daily life to a certain extent. In a few days, your grandfather will ask your 7th grandfather to come to you, and he can also give you some guidance on your practice. Although there are no spellcasters in the family, your 7th grandfather is very powerful, and it is enough to answer some questions for you now. Grandpa 7? Chapter 3 Family School. Grandpa 7? Lin Ke was a little surprised. This 7th grandfather is called Elhaman. Like the other 5 elders who have become family elders, although he is called grandfather by Cohen, he is not actually Ryan's biological brother. Now, except for Ryan himself, all the elders of the first generation of the family have passed away, leaving only a limited number of descendants. As a patron of the Muters family, Ryan treated the descendants of his brothers very well. All those under the age of 18 were sent to the family school to study. They were no different from his direct descendants. Those who had outstanding talents and breakthroughs and became professionals now occupy important positions in the family industry. The 6 elders are actually the old brothers of Cohen's grandfather Ryan when he was working in the military. Along the way, they experienced too many lives and deaths. When Ryan was able to return to the Windy City to found a family, the 6 elders, who were nearly 100 years old and the youngest over 60, suddenly looked back and realized that their original civilian families had changed. The lives of the descendants who lacked the protection of a strong family were still difficult. Ryan learned that after learning about their situation, he sent an invitation on behalf of the Muters family, and the latter brought their respective family members to Windy City without much hesitation and merged into the Muters family together. The 6 became the 6 elders of the Muters family. Ryan even forcefully demanded that everyone inside and outside the family should respect the 6 people as they respect the first-generation elders and never change. Among the 6 elders, only the youngest 7th elder came alone. Speaking of which, this powerful man who is only 64 years old looks not much older than Cohen's father Jason, but at Ryan's insistence, he became Jason's 7th uncle and Cohen's 7th grandfather. As for why the 7th elder did not get married and start a business, this is something that many people in the family are willing to spend some time speculating in private. The somewhat withdrawn 7th elder never minds these words, and as time goes by, no one wants to talk about it anymore. Lin Ke had only seen the few smiles of this always serious elder in Cohen's memory, which were very stiff. Is this a person who would be sent by his grandfather to protect himself? Lin Ke couldn't help but think about it, but couldn't figure it out, so he let it go. Cohen's mother, Serena, chatted with Lin Ke for a long time. Only then did she see that Lin Ke was a little tired. She repeatedly warned and even warned him not to practice during the recuperation period before leaving with a lot of worry. Lin Ke knew that Cohen's mother Serena played a very key role in the family and controlled most of the family's industry. Even if there were many subordinates to share the routine things, she was still busy every day and had no time to spare. Lin Ke understood this feeling. At the same time, Lin Ke was also a little worried. He really didn't have the confidence to stay with Cohen's mother for a long time without revealing anything. He was worried because he didn't want to lose this mother and the family who gave him a warm feeling for the first time. He told himself again and again in his heart, Lin Ke is Cohen, and I am Cohen. Before closing his eyes and lying down, he said deeply to the Cohen who didn't know whether he still existed, I'm sorry, Cohen. Lin Ke was woken up by a burst of crying. He didn't know how long he slept for. He only knew that when he woke up, his spirit was exceptionally clear, and every part of his body was full of strength, making him eager to find a place to vent his excess energy. This feeling couldn't be better. Master Cohen, you are awake. The speaker was a girl who made even Lin Ko, who was used to seeing artificial beauties in Earth magazines, shine. She had long, bright golden hair and a pair of clear blue eyes, like a Barbie doll that had come to life. Just the faint arc of her plump and small lips made the whole room bright. Lin Ko felt that he was stunned for at least 1,000th of a second before he stood up and said hello to her. "Well, morning, Sister Schwer." As he said this, he naturally passed by and smelled a faint fragrance. In a bright mood, he picked up the water glass on the table and drank it all, but did not notice that Schwer behind him had already stood there blankly. "Master Cohen, please." Ellie threw herself in front of Cohen and cried like a drowning person who saw the last straw. "Please, for the sake of taking care of you all these years, don't drive me away, please." Of course, Lin Ko felt a little thirsty. He took a look at Ailey's current state and clearly couldn't help him store water, so he poured another glass and drank it. "Really, you really promised not to send me to Xiqing District?" Ailey's watery eyes widened, staring at Lin Ko as if she were looking at someone she had never known. "Master Cohen, Mrs. Serena is very dissatisfied with Ellie's dereliction of duty and has decided to let her leave the family and send her back to Xiqing District." The Barbie girl Schwer answered Lin Ko's question from the side, although he had already guessed it. "Oh, that's it. Will you give her some money?" Lin Ko asked casually, ignoring the desperate look in Ellie's eyes. "Of course, Mrs. Serena has already told her to take care of her life." Schwer came to Lin Ko and gently took the water glass from his hand and refilled it. Lin Ko admired in his heart, "I seem to have slept for a long time." He naturally walked to a huge mirror, and for the first time, he completely saw his appearance at this time. A pair of light blue eyes under the long golden hair exuding a strange brilliance, a tall nose and lips with a faint smile. Everything looked so harmonious. Compared with the popular facial makeup in the previous life, it was completely charming. 3 days, Schwer stretched out 3 slender, porcelain white fingers that caught Lin Ko's attention. "And it's not morning either. Dr. Kama came here yesterday and said that your body is recovering surprisingly fast and you will probably wake up today." What an experience, doctor. Lin Ko drank the water in the cup and put it on the table. He stretched and said, "Let's go out for a walk. I've been bored in this room for too long. It's time to breathe." Lin Ko stood up and rubbed his hands. Ellie's chestnut hair was very smooth. "What should I do, little Ellie?" "I agreed to your request." He looked up at Schwer and smiled, showing his white teeth. "And I will definitely do what I promise others." The surprised look in Schwer's eyes could no longer be concealed, and then her bright smile made Lin Ko enchanted. "Madam must be very happy to hear what you said." "Did you just call me Sister Schwer?" Schwer walked quietly a little behind Lin Ko, not too far but not too close. Behind her was Ellie. The little girl had put down her burdens and was in a bright mood like a bird in spring. She walked much more briskly than usual. "What? Are you afraid that I will regret it?" Lin Ko walked through the family courtyards one after another with his hands behind his back, as if he was visiting some scenic spot in a relaxed and carefree manner. The natural environment of this world is much better than that of the earth. The air is fresh and thorough, and the flowers and plants are bright and moving. Even in the Mutes family mansion located in the center of the Windy City, there are still huge trees everywhere that require 2 people to surround them. The lush tree crowns cast mottled shadows swaying in the wind on the flat stone pavement. It removed a trace of heat and calmed the ripples in his heart, making Lin Ko's whole heart peaceful and indifferent. Schwer shook her head and said, "You have never called me that before. Even though we have met countless times, you have become a little different." Lin Ko did not expect that the first person to notice this difference was not Cohen's mother Serena, but the girl in front of him who had only been with him for less than 10 minutes. In Cohen's memory, he saw that the intersection between her and Cohen was minimal. Maybe it was the drastic change in that moment that allowed me to see clearly many things in life that I had never seen clearly before, those that I had ignored, those that I had been attached to, those that I had disdained, and those that I had been proud of. It made me feel as if I had lived for 14 years again. Linka rambled about some mysterious and mysterious things, half truthfully and half falsely. In short, I made money this time. Schwer is not very adaptable to his jumping thinking and is a little dazed. Passing through a simple hardwood door on the tall and heavy courtyard wall, behind the door is a huge gym. Linka knew from Cohen's memory that this was the family school of the Muters family. All the family children under the age of 18 studied and trained here, hoping to successfully inspire energy to become a noble professional before leaving the school and rewrite their lives. Countless facts in the past have proven that if a human race fails to stimulate the relationship between itself and the free energy of the outside world and becomes a professional before the age of 18, it will be almost impossible to make a breakthrough throughout life and can only live as an ordinary person. At the same time, it does not mean that the sooner you awaken your ability, the further you can go. The improvement of strength is a long process, and there are too many accidents and hurdles. There are probably several categories of people in the school. The first category is the direct bloodline of Rhine, 6 boys and 3 girls, including Cohen. They are the most concerned and favored objects in the school. The eldest among them is 19 years old, but still refuses to give up and leave. This type of people is its own entity in the school. Of course, Cohen is not included. The second category is the young descendants of the 5 elders. This is a looser group. Everyone is determined to make progress in order to one day break through their own limits and become professionals and have a better future in the family. The third category is the descendants of Ryan's deceased brothers. Because they are discriminated against within the family, they are the most united. The fourth category is the servant group. This is the largest group of people in the school, and it is also the future strength reserved by major families. Most of their origins are similar to Ellie. They are all children of poor civilian families or simply orphans. From a very young age, he was adopted by major families and schools and was given treatment and life that ordinary children could never have. Until one day he became a professional and entered the family's key training circle, or became a servant or guard after turning 18 and was completely integrated into the family, just like a drop of rootless water from the sky, destined to fall into the river, but only causing a little ripple. Lin couldn't have too many feelings. These were the eternal rules of the world. He would never break into the shackles like a savior to save anyone, because he knew that only he could save himself, and only he could break free from the strong and invincible shackles around him and gain a new life. He didn't come to class. He came here today to meet someone, a brother, who gave him a bowl of soup. Linka's arrival attracted the attention of almost everyone exercising on the field. He saw a small forest on the edge of the casino, which was remote but quiet. Under the shade of the trees, several young figures in robes were meditating there. Someone was already looking over. In the central area of the casino, a large group of boys were naked and looked oily due to the application of medicine. The shiny muscles looked even darker and shiny in the sun. Each of the companions holding wooden sticks hit their hard muscles in a certain rhythm, using the most primitive pain to stimulate acupuncture points all over the body, enhancing the body's responsibility and trying to stimulate energy induction. Around the battlefield, there are groups of girls holding wooden spikes to catch and kill each other, as graceful as flying swallows, and there are also scattered young men holding blunt swords to chop with stakes, as pretentious as angry young lions. This is the most prominent color in Cohen's memory, and it is the place where he spent most of his childhood. At an age when other children on the earth were still playing in the playground, he had been meditating boringly in that grove day after day. When all the children on the playground in the family school had left, he was still meditating silently in that familiar grove, trying to figure out the true meaning of magic. Cohen was never a genius. But he accomplished everything that everyone thinks a genius can do.